Hello. Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Jenn, the Intuitive Phoenix, and I am here because I am going to be having a conversation in just a moment with Kristi, who has been... Sorry, I'm getting distracted. The one thing that has me always nervous when I do Facebook Lives with someone else is the technology piece. And because I always want to be sure that everything comes together okay. So things were popping up on my screen. Sorry about that. So again, I'm Dr. Jenn. I'm the Intuitive Phoenix, and I am here because I am going to have a conversation momentarily with a woman who has been a client of mine, and she has agreed to get on and share her experience with us. She's also going to be, let me see if I can line this up better. She's also going to be available to answer questions for those who may have them. Hey, Kel. Welcome, glad you're here. So, why am I doing this Facebook Live? Why am I having this conversation? Of course, I have been sharing with people the work that I do and the results that people are getting, and I'll share testimonials, but that information is coming through me about the work that I do and the experiences that they are having. So what I wanted to do today is give you an opportunity to hear it firsthand from someone who is having the experience herself. So that way, if there's questions or things that you want to know, you can ask her directly and hear from her directly. So I suspect that we'll be connecting with her in just a moment. So while we're waiting, what can I share with you? There's so much I could tell. There's so much I could tell you. The people who choose to work with me come to me from a lot of different backgrounds, but some of the reasons that people will come to me is because they have been experiencing pain of some kind, whether it's physical, emotional, mental, or spiritual pain. They may come to me because they're feeling stressed or overwhelmed, or often they have uncertainty in their lives. They may be wanting to make changes and wanting to experience different results in their life and not quite sure how to go about making those changes. Hey, Lynn, welcome. So people who come to me may be coming to develop confidence in their own intuition, their own inner voice, so that way they can develop a level of confidence within themselves to make, in some cases, some pretty spectacular and big changes. And so that would be another reason that people come to work with me. Other people who may choose to work with me might be working for themselves. Many of my clients are entrepreneurs, and they are making decisions every day, all day. And as an entrepreneur, in a lot of cases, are working for ourselves. We may be the only employee, at least to start with, and that can be a challenge in and of itself. So it's really important that you're tuned in to the information that is good for you, that is in your best interest. And sometimes being able to tap into that information, trust that information, act from that information, well, to be honest, takes a lot of courage, because it can be, especially at the beginning or when you're making a new upgrade in your business, it can be, scary as hell. And let me see. I see Kristi, so let's bring Kristi on camera with us. She is being added now. Welcome, Kristi. So glad that you are joining us and having this conversation with us. So let me see if this is working. Well, as I was saying, so a lot of people that work with us are entrepreneurs, and we have a lot of decisions to make that not only affect ourselves personally, but also our businesses. Um, so that can be almost feel like a double whammy sometimes, and make it even that much more challenging. But I'm going to stop talking now because I'm going to introduce Kristi. Kristi, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
All right, I can hear you as well. I'm going to turn it up just a little bit here. Okay, so welcome, Kristi. I was just giving people an overview and letting them know that we were having a conversation about um, the work that we have been doing together. And I also let them know that if they have questions or comments as we go along, that they are welcome to ask those. Um, and if you do have questions or comments, know that we will get to the question. And even if it's not live and you ask or watch later and you have questions, feel free to continue to post questions or have comments because Kristi and I can always respond at a later time. So, Kristi, the first thing that I would like to do, if you would,
Mhm.
is introduce yourself and tell everyone what it is that you do.
Hi, my name's Kristi Sowers. I am a veterinarian, and I recently, over the past probably it's been a year, started my own mobile veterinary acupuncture business. And with Dr. Jen's help, when I came to see her, I was in kind of a toxic relationship. Well, that relationship ended, but I was in a toxic job. I was in emergency medicine for about 10 years, which was great in the beginning, but it did become, very toxic. And then I took kind of the leap of faith to completely switch gears and go into animal acupuncture. Of course, like I said, with the support of Dr. Jen. And now I'm, really, the word's going to escape me, but designing my own life, based on what my intuition is telling me. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell.
Well, and the first thing that I want to put out there too is anybody who gets live on Facebook um, can be a little nerve-wracking, especially at first. Right before you got on, Kristi, I was sharing with people and I was stuttering and like kind of falling all over my words because I was trying to figure out how everything was working. So I ask that anybody who's watching, feel free to say hello. And like I said, ask questions, share comments, things that you may want to know about, but also know that it takes courage to get on here and to be interviewed like Kristi is doing. So, Kristi, thank you for doing that. Thank you again for yeah, showing up in courage, not only as an entrepreneur, but to be here today. So thank you for that.
Yeah. I also have a
Um,
fear of public speaking, by the way. So,
and I remember when I first talked to Kristi about doing this some time back, she said yes right away and said, this is one more area that she is learning to step outside her comfort zone, but that she knew that she could do it. And obviously, here she is, just yeah, jumping in to do that. So thank you again for doing that.
yeah.
And I will add her business, and I will post comments or post details in the comments when we're done. Her business is Kindred Souls Mobile Veterinary Services. So we will post that. So if you want to connect with her about services for your animals, she is in the Asheville area, so you can connect with her at a later time. So, Kristi,
Yes.
I know you shared a little bit that you were in a toxic relationship, you were in a, well, toxic job. Um, what in our time working together has, well, how has our work together impacted or changed things for you?
I think The biggest thing that I've noticed a change in is my anxiety level. And we've, talked about this multiple times that I really didn't have an understanding of how anxious I was, even in general life, not just involving my job or my relationship. And then since working with you, that anxiety, which was probably honestly a 10, but I didn't think it was, has, gone down to, really a 1 or a 2. And even in the times when I can recognize when I'm now feeling that anxiety and have tools to really help me, deal with that and kind of understand where it's coming from. And really, the other things is just a deeper relationship and understanding of myself and in my intuition and what I want out of life and what I need out of life along my journey. And those are, like I said, the biggest thing. But also how to trust myself and how to listen to myself. That when I came to you, my intuition was trying to talk to me and trying to tell me, I needed to get out of this toxic job, but I didn't know how to listen to it or know that was really what was happening. And so you've really helped me to hone in on that and know myself better, and love myself too. As well, because I thought before I came to you that I loved myself, that I knew, what I wanted, and that really wasn't very true. So those are the big things.
They are huge things. I can remember when I first met Kristi, um, pretty quiet. Yeah, didn't have a lot to say. Um, yeah, kept to yourself. Um, I would say almost even kind of kept your head down.
Mhm.
It's like you came in for the appointment and then you left. And as she was under care, um, I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, maybe even a little corny, but there was a blossoming that happened where, yeah, you could just see changes, not just in our actual appointment, but just her coming even into the office. Um, and yeah, that's the best way I would describe it, is a blossoming. That you seemed more comfortable, that you seem more comfortable in your body, that you seem more comfortable within yourself, being in an environment where you might run into other people.
Definitely, definitely, yeah.
Hey, Cindy, welcome. Um, if you're still watching, Cindy, feel free to ask questions or share comments if you want to know more either about the work that Kristi and I did together or about Kristi's business. Feel free to do that. Um, Now, one of the things that you said, Kristi, was that your your awareness and understanding of what was going on um, really didn't like match reality. Like you didn't think your anxiety was so bad, and now looking back, you realized it was a lot worse.
Mhm.
And you thought you loved yourself, and now you love yourself in a much deeper way, in a much well, and yeah, you love yourself more than what you did when we first started. So it seems like things like essentially flipped.
Exactly.
Would that be correct?
That's correct. Yep. Yep.
What was it about the what we did together that led to this change in awareness? What
Um,
would you say?
I mean, that's probably one of the first things is recognizing it, and then really teaching me to kind of go deeper into what is behind that anxiety, what are my real fears, and then proving to myself and with your help that that's not a real thing or that's nothing to be fearful of, or um, just also you know giving me tools on how to really listen to myself and trust that, and little exercises to do and mantras to say and be and just change the way that I view something, that it's there's nothing to really be fearful of, kind of thing. That makes sense.
Yeah, so what I'm hearing you say is you would come in, be sharing something, or we'd be connecting on our appointments, and something would be going on in your life, and through the conversation that we had and the information that we were exchanging, that you were able to start changing your awareness or perception of it. Would that be correct?
Correct. Yep.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And I also heard that you were able to dive in, that you were able to go deeper in it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you've
And
helped me realize that a lot, not a lot, but some of what I've, been feeling is not just stuff, from necessarily this life, but from other lives as well. And that not just doing, superficial kind of work, that this is, much, much deeper than anything I was able to get from, years of counseling through traditional, counselors. So,
well, wonderful. And you also mentioned a few times now that there were tools that you took away.
mhm.
Um, Mantras, uh, I know we did belief statements.
Mhm.
I know we also worked with intuition.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit more about how your intuition has changed since our time working together?
Well, the big thing is I'm listening to it. um,
Mhm.
and you really helped me kind of tone it because it's a different language, and it's also a very very subtle language, that I kind of feel like in the past I was very much focused on my ego and how can I tame my ego or get my ego to conform to whatever's going on. Where with you we work more on kind of the soul or the spirit level, which again is very subtle. And if I'm you've taught me if ego is all up here, then you can't hear your soul, you can't listen to your spirit. Um, so giving me tools to recognize when it's talking to me, and also building trust that once I started listening to it and seeing the results and seeing that it's not going to lead me wrong. I just have to really be quiet and kind of listen to it and understand its language. And so that's where you help me kind of bridge that gap, is to understand the language and hear it and actually do it. So
Well, and I have to say, and I've said this to Kristi, but I want to say it again because this is crucial. Kristi showed up for her appointment. She followed through on her appointments. When, because in our sessions and in the sessions when I'm working with someone, often what does come through is, as she put it, little assignments, or I call them recommendations, almost like prescriptions if you were to go to a medical doctor, things to do to help take care of your health or help take care of what's going on in your life at the time. And Kristi would follow through on those things. And as she's sharing, when people follow through on those things, they start, well, changing our perception. They start leading us into a direction that we can connect with ourselves and experience real changes. Of course, Kristi talked about having anxiety and realizing it was basically a 10 out of 10.
mhm.
And now, even with working for herself and building a business, um, is experiencing a 1 or 2 at times.
Mhm.
And that she's hearing that intuition. And that, I know it sounds almost cliche at times, but with practice, it develops. And Kristi is, I look forward to my sessions with Kristi because I can't wait to hear how things continue unfold and evolve and expand for her as she, yeah, follows the recommendations and follows the assignments and listens to herself. So it's always wonderful to see that happen. Um, so, with everything that you've discovered about our time together, um, Kristi, how, what do you, I don't even know how to, sometimes one of my most challenging things with interviews like this is how to convey the impact that all of this has on a person's life. Um, so, with looking back, what would you say is your No. All right, I'm going to stop for a moment. I'm getting up in my head. This is what happens sometimes when, as Kristi put it, ego starts to get in the way. My ego is getting in the way, and so I got to connect to my intuition here for a moment. Okay. What do you think, Kristi, is the biggest impact of what you discovered moving forward in your life?
Biggest impact is that's a big question. Um, Probably being, I guess, being happy with myself and being, I guess, accepting of who I am. And one of the things we've talked about numerous times is kind of what I call recovery time from when, the bad stuff still happens in my life, but before seeing you, if something, quote unquote tragic, which really wasn't that tragic, something small happened, I could dwell on it for a week, or it could really, screw up my schedule or the way I'm thinking for a week or more. And now, when life happens and things don't necessarily go the way that I think they should or I want them to, or I get in my head that it's literally 24 hours, before if that long. Sometimes it's a few minutes, sometimes it's a few hours, where I'm able to kind of talk myself down or get back into things, and it's not overwhelming my life like it has in the past. And in the past, I've really, even though I didn't realize I was doing it, really looking for someone else to fulfill me and for me to be happy. And you've taught me really to be happy with myself, and which has, radiated, throughout all aspects of my life. So.
Yes, which is, I mean, amazing. I know for me, what you just shared was much the way I would describe my own experience. The I used to refer it, I still refer it as my shitstorm when
Mhm.
I get all up in my head, or ego as you referred to it. And yes, it could really affect me for days, weeks, sometimes even longer on maybe on a lower level. Um, but always there, always kind of in the way. And to see those experiences get easier to navigate, to not get, yeah, totally knocked off my game, I guess you could say, by something that might come up, because part of me knows, like, oh, I've got this. I can handle this. And then to realize, like, wow, not only can I handle it, but it's not taking me as much effort. It's not taking me as much energy, not as much time.
Mhm.
That, yeah, that on some levels it just gets easier and easier um, to be able to work through.
Yeah, the other thing I'll say is
That's,
you've also helped me how to really accept my emotions and know
mm,
that, again, before I came to you, and my go-to emotion is crying, whether I'm happy, angry, sad, whatever, it's crying. And that used to be something that I really didn't like about myself. But after, coming to you, that learn there's a reason that emotion is there, and there's something that's coming up because of that, and to not be afraid of that, and to let that happen, and know that after it does happen, that I'm going to feel better, that something else is getting released, that there is a reason for all of that, and to not be scared of it, and to just kind of let it flow and let it happen. So I don't cry as much
and that,
anymore.
well, and I think there's two things that happens there. One, like you said, it's time for it to be released. It's time for it to come out. And most of us learn to stuff those emotions. We learned not to recognize them, or we wanted to experience only the positive ones. We didn't want those negative ones. Um, yeah, so we stuffed them or ignored them. And yes, Kristi doesn't cry as much. I know I don't cry typically as much, but not because we're stuffing them, but because we're allowing them to be released
Mhm.
as circumstances arise, as yeah, as an event occurs, if it brings tears, then we allow those tears to flow. And we allow that healing to happen as it's being called to happen, which then makes it so much easier as we continue to move forward to not be overwhelmed, to not be stressed, to not be anxious, because we don't have all of that kind of stuffed and controlled and contained within us. And thank you for sharing that, Kristi, because yes, emotions are super important to our healing process, to recognize them, allow them, and to support ourselves in that. And as Kristi said, once you do that, there's usually something good on the other side. There's a blessing, there's an awareness, there's space for other things to come in for us to experience or to take things to the next level in some way. Um, and I just had there was a thought that came, and of course now it's run away because I was talking. Let me see if I can get it back. So what would you share, Kristi, with somebody um, who says that they have a lot of anxiety? What would you tell them now?
That you don't have to be that way. And that if, I was very much before going on the journey of the past almost 3 years now, very much a left-brained person and, into a lot of labels. I was, I've been dealing with ADHD or diagnosed with that since I was about 8 years old. And I've seen probably, 10 years worth of counselors that again were focusing on that ego. And that, but I always felt, I mean, I would do okay for a while and then I would always fall back into the same patterns. And coming to you, and again, I came to you for chiropractic work. I had
Mm-hmm.
no idea that it was going to bloom and blossom into, affecting every aspect of my life, and really had no idea that I was going to go on this journey with you, because I was still in that physical, you know, plane, and that, just be open to this, way of looking at things and way of healing. I mean, you've done more for me in 2 years than any counselor has ever done in the 6 years of talking, and that it's a much deeper kind of healing, and that, every physical thing that happens to our body initially starts with some energetic block or some, something at the spirit or soul level. And it sounds, because I could tell you I was skeptical. Again, I was trained left brain, and I, initially thought this was all hoo-ha and what is this, this is not really for me, kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
But you were really great and kind of just easing me into it. And then, the next thing I know, I'm really deep into it, and know and feel the best that I've probably ever felt, my whole life, except for when I was a kid. I very much feel childlike again. So to just be open to that process, and if you've tried everything else, or even if you haven't tried everything else, to just let it flow, and be open is the biggest thing I can say, I guess, to that. Um,
No, that's awesome. And I even do remember at one point when we were talking about continuing care, I remember you were really honest with me saying, "Oh, she just wants more money." Um, and and it was great that you, one, felt so comfortable to be direct and honest, because to me that's a sign that we had a good relationship working together, because so often people do have thoughts um, and things that come to mind, and they, again, hold it in and don't share it. So when somebody in a session even says, okay, you're pissing me off, or yeah, they get mad at me, I see it as a good sign, because they're safe to be able to be honest and to share exactly what they think. Um, so to hear you share what you do. Thank you for the compliment and for sharing that with others. But also to be in a place that you, yeah, feel comfortable to do that because so many people, yeah, so many people don't. So thank you for that. Um, so probably one of my last questions. What's unique, or what would you say is unique about what I do or what I offer to you versus your other experiences or other things that you know are available? What do you think makes it unique coming from me?
Um, well, I will say, you're very easy to talk to. You do a great job of making, me feel comfortable and, trusting you. That I think, you share often your personal experiences, which I think says a lot and again makes you, very, very easy to talk to and know that, it's nice. Hey, she's been through the same thing. She knows exactly what I'm going through, um, kind of stuff. But again, kind of going back to it really just whatever your problem or your issue is, it gets down to the root of it all and not just, again, kind of what your ego can do to make this better. It's what can your soul and your spirit do to heal yourself. And that's what makes it lasting. That, and I mentioned that with the counselors, I would do okay for a while and then I'd always revert back to my old ways. And yeah, there's been, some of that, for sure. But I know deep down that it's really helped me to really heal the origin of the problem, and which is going to be long lasting and not just, a short fix to make me feel better. So.
Wonderful. And I know um, one of the things that I say to people is I do see basically my purpose is to overall do away with my purpose. Not that I'm not available to continue to support someone in the future after we're no longer working together, but for people that when we're not working together or we come to the end of the time, that that they feel really confident in their own skills and abilities and your relationship with yourself to say, hey, I got this.
Mhm.
And so my question to you, being that we are coming to the end of our the time that we've been working together, on a scale of 1 to 10, how confident do you feel that you've got this?
Probably nine and a half.
Hmm.
Yeah, which is
Which is
not what I would say for anything else I've been through. And yeah, you definitely, given me tools to be able to do it on my own. And I do feel like, with your help, even, the past couple of months that I'll bring stuff up and you're like, yeah, that's exactly what you need to do. That's what you're, and things that I'm taking care of in between sessions are really where I need to be. And so I feel like I'm, pretty confident that I'll be able to continue on. Um, yeah.
well, I certainly agree 100%. I know my intuition and the psychic guides are saying absolutely yes to all of that. So I'm really excited um, that is where things are for you. Um, Anything, Kristi, that I didn't ask about or that you haven't shared that you feel like people should know or that you would want them to know?
Hmm. Um, Give it a try. um, and it's one of the other things is to really just again be open, and to not really have expectations, because I even though I kind of went into this with some expectations, I really in my mind also said, I don't necessarily I don't know this is going to work, but just that we're just going to see what happens and see where this goes and not try to define things or confine things, that expectations of what's going to be, but just be open and give it a try, and you will be pleasantly surprised like I was.
Wonderful. So to make it really clear for people, is it worth it for them to do this work for themselves?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Awesome. Um, and do they deserve it?
Yes, they do. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I like to make it crystal clear for people, because that's certainly what I think. I mean, that we deserve it, that we deserve to have healing, that we deserve to come to this place that we can trust our intuition, that we can know what we want and need and be able to respond to it, that we can listen to ourselves and yeah, and be confident how we choose to move forward. And as you said, and create, design a life that we want to live.
Hmm. Yeah,
I mean,
not just letting
that's
life happen to you, but you make life happen.
right,
Yeah.
right,
So
right. All right. Well, thank you so much, Kristi, for agreeing to do this, and great job considering, like you said, fear of speaking, and this was not within your comfort zone. You did excellent. You
yeah.
certainly, yeah, shared so much wonderful information, and thank you so much for having the courage to share your experience. So that way, those who might be anxious or afraid to step into their own,
Mhm.
that they can hear from you on how beneficial it can be. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah.
Um, and again, for those who may watch this at a later time, this is Kristi Sowers. She is the owner of Kindred Souls Mobile Veterinary Services. I will post her details in the comments. And if you watch this at a later time and you've got questions either for myself or for Kristi, um, based on yeah, their experiences, or my experience and her experience, feel free to post those and we will get back to you with those answers. So thank you again, everyone. I'm sending health and love and ease in your transformation till we connect again. And thank you so much, Kristi. I really appreciate your time and willingness to do this.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.